All right, I believe we're live now. So today we're going to be talking about reasonable accommodations for Section 8 and for those that are in low-income housing. And so first we're going to start with a few introductions. Now you may have noticed there's an unusual cover to this video, and that's because it's Halloween today. So you may be watching this video in the future. So just so you know, today we'll be talking a little bit about the cats that I have, as well as the accommodations. So there's no correlation. It's kind of an inside deal if you're one of the 11 or 12,000 people that watch my channel. So the first thing I tell you is, to fully understand this and to be able to get accommodations and modifications for your Section 8 voucher, your housing, or wherever you're living. And I just want to make it very clear this video is about accommodations and modifications for those that are in Section 8 and for low income housing. This is not for jobs. This is not for disability of businesses and other things. This is strictly housing to do with HUD and Section 8. All right. That being said, now that we've clarified that, there's a few things I'm going to give you guys real quick. In order to understand the intent of the law, and there are many federal laws that you have available, a lot of you tend to request modifications and accommodations in such a way that you're not doing a very good job. So there are forms you have to fill out. And when you present this, you don't want to just call the housing authority. A conversation on the phone is not a matter of public record. They could say anything, you could say anything. It doesn't mean that it's been logged in anywhere. So it's important that you understand what the burden of proof is. So I think in this video, we're going to cover more of what all that's going to be, how you should be doing it, and then maybe in the next video, I'll address specific situations. So getting started. So we're going to be talking about what reasonable accommodations are and what reasonable modifications are. So starting with this, we're going to look at who must comply with these requirements. Now, compliance is down to everything from individual corporations, associations, apartment complexes, including property owners, house managers, homeowners. It covers everybody. There is no exclusion to this rule unless it is probably a federal building, and even then, it would still probably likely be applicable. When is a reasonable accommodation or modification necessary? Well, to be frank with you, that's open to interpretation, but it's important that when we discuss interpretation, that that it has to be reasonable. So a request for accommodation or modification may be necessary when there is a identifiable relationship between you having some type of disability and the nexus, meaning the connection to the modification that you're requesting. In other words, if you don't have a set of two legs and you can't climb the stair, there is a connection. For those of you that are putting in for modifications and other requests where you do not have a physical disability and it's not affecting the actual part of your life because of that disability, then it's erroneous. They're not going to allow you to do it. So I'm going to go on. What information may a provider seek when reasonable accommodation or a modification is requested? A provider is entitled. Now, I want you to listen carefully to this paragraph so you get a better understanding. A provider, meaning any landlord or the person that you're lodging the request with, is entitled to obtain information that is necessary to evaluate if a request is a reasonable accommodation or modification, which may be necessary because of your disability, which can be physical or mental. If the person's disability is obvious, really apparent, or otherwise known to the provider, means they already previously knew about it. And so, what I'm going to say about this is if there is a need for a request for accommodation or modification, it is also already apparent or known by the provider, may not request any additional information. So in other words, when you submit it, they may not give you the runaround. Okay. So let's think about this logically. If you're submitting a form and you're mailing that in with a tracking number, so we know that they're legitimately receiving the request, and you've already apprised them by giving medical work or whatever it may be to them, then they cannot give you the runaround. They must give you a judgment at that point. Yes, we'll do it. No, we will not do it, but we will make an alternative. We'll see if we can come up with an alternative that wouldn't be a burden on our process financially, or an alternative that would be less costly. So that's the thing about this, guys. If you start the process, your first letter when you're sending this out to housing authorities and landlords should be showing that you have a proven disability. Once we have that on a factual basis and a secondary letter requesting modification, then there's zero grounds for any additional proof or evidence at that point. It's already been known, it's prescribed by federal law. That is the end of the conversation when it comes to that. Now, if you just want to be judicious and give them more information, I suppose you could do that, but it's not going to change that. So I'm going to go on to some additional information. If the disability and or disability related need for the request of accommodation is not known or obvious, the provider may request information that is necessary to evaluate the disability. Cut to the chase with that, get it straight from a doctor, okay? And it should be in such a way that the doctor would describe exactly what the disability is and how this could be relieved if they change a very specific thing. Avoid things that are going to be extremely costly or require. Let's give an example. If you're in a wheelchair, you're in a complex, and you're requesting that you cannot put the trash in the dumpster, which is 4 foot tall, do not put it in such a way that would require them to have an additional maintenance man come out every day to empty your trash. It would cause a financial burden. So you would want to think how this would be simpler and cheaper to do in order to avoid the issue and get denied. Okay. When may a housing provider deny or request accommodation or modification? So let's talk about this a little bit. And you want to pay close attention to what I'm going to tell you about this. A housing provider can deny a request for reasonable accommodation or modification if the request was not made on behalf of the person with a disability. Do not have other people file this for you. Even if you hire a consultant, you should make sure that you are the one delivering the paperwork, not somebody else. Okay. In addition to that, a request for reasonable accommodation or modification may be denied if providing the accommodation or modification would impose undue financial, administrative burden, or the housing provider would fundamentally alter the way they do business. So you really do have to consider those things. What I mean by financial burden, I don't mean that, hey, when you call the housing authority, the landlord, that they would need to spend 10,000 to put in a handicap ramp. There are certain things they're going to have to comply with. But what I'm saying is, if it's going to cause unnecessary problems in that area. So you want to make sure you're very clear about what you're trying to achieve. The determination of the undue financial and administrative burden may be on a case-by-case basis involving various factors. If an undue burden or fundamental alteration exists, the housing provider is required to provide any other reasonable accommodation. So understand, just because you put in a request for a new car does not mean that you won't get a used one. As an extreme example, they're not giving out cars, but I think you see my point. That goes back to alternatives. If the undue burden or fundamental exists, the housing provider is still required to provide any reasonable accommodation up to the point that it would not result in undue financial and administrative burden or on particular housing provider or constitute a fundamental alteration of the program. In other words, if they feel that they can do it cheaper, then they certainly will. So, when it comes to housing providers denying requests for accommodation modification provider, the provider should discuss with the requester whether there's an alternative accommodation. So one thing when you want to outline is when you're making a request that you're leaving a couple of available options open. A lot of you just make an open-ended request. You either install a ramp or I'm going to be upset. Okay, or you give me an extra bedroom because I have a carry. You need to make sure that you're offering other alternatives so it's the best way to trap them into options. Okay. If you leave it up to them, then, don't be shocked when they offer some of the worst things you've heard of. And so that's why you kind of have to prepare yourself with paperwork. Provider has the obligation to provide prompt responses to reasonable accommodation requests. Prompt means prompt, but there is no underlying dictation as far as how long they must respond. But I would imagine 7 to 14 business days would be reasonable. And undue delay in responding to a reasonable accommodation request may be deemed a failure to provide a reasonable accommodation. If at any time you lodge the request in paperwork or by email, not a telephone call, do not do telephone calls, then that is a denial of service. And I think we can adequately say at 14 days or half a month that you've been denied, and then you may proceed with the rest. So, and that happens a lot. And that's because a lot of you guys don't realize when these guys just don't want to respond and they don't do anything. And when you have a judicious record of sending out this stuff and you have a tracking number and so on, and you're showing that you've done your end of the deal and they're just not going to respond, that's fine. Then we can kick it up to FHEO. And we'll talk a little bit further about that in a minute. A failure to reach an agreement with accommodation request is affect a decision by the provider not to grant the request of combination. In other words, you have been denied. There's not an option to deny for that federal law. Okay, so that's strictly a violation there, and you've trapped them. You've got what you want at that point. Now, what would be reasonable will be determined by FHEO or could be picked up by the Department of Justice. I want you to listen carefully. This part of failure to reach an agreement on an accommodation request is an effective decision of the provider not to grant the request of accommodation, as I had mentioned. When a person with a disability believes that he or she has been subjected to discriminatory housing practice, including provider's wrongful denial of a request for reasonable accommodation or modification, he or she may file a complaint with the FHEO or the United States Justice Department. Both of these are federal agencies. Both take up these issues and both will sue. If the individual who was denied the accommodation files a complaint with the FHEO to challenge that decision, then HUD or the state local agency receiving the complaint will review the evidence in light of applicable laws and assess whether or not the housing provider has violated that law. The best way to know whether or not a law has been violated is to create your case based around law. So let's think about this subjectively. I've got a problem. I want an accommodation. So the first thing you should be doing is let's be intelligent about this. If you're going to request something, the first thing you should really do is contact the housing authority by email or mail and then say, hey, could you just tell me the policies for getting an accommodation? Don't tell them the purpose or reason. In other words, if you can trap them in your policy, then you know how to build the case. Second to that is when you're sending out a letter to prove disability, which most of you already have a proven disability. It's a matter of record with your low-income housing or housing. So that's already present. The third thing is once you have policies, it's like reading a manual, then you're able to look at that, compare it with federal law, and then you can copy and paste that directly in there. So you would know that there was a violation of that federal law from the start. So it's how you build your case. Getting on the phone with Sally over at the housing authority that makes a nickel an hour could give a shit whether or not she ever gives you an accommodation. If you don't take the necessary steps here, the FHEO or the Justice Department is going to think that you have a loose screw and that you just have a complaining spirit. They're going to take it seriously. So the first part is getting the paperwork right. Do not let the housing authority know when you're coming or how you're coming to do this, but making sure you're going through the steps slowly. That way they can't see and they can't build a case or a way to deny you, okay? Any action taken between the housing authority and also the landlord should be done simultaneously. One letter goes to one goes to the other. If you're emailing, then everybody should be copied and pasted on it. So that kind of you take a look at that. Now I've included some links for HUD and also United States Justice Department and what they consider as examples. You should take careful note of that because it'll explain exactly how you should build your case in that respect. Please keep in mind, I'm not an attorney, but I work with lots of people that've got these type of problems. All right, so I see we got a hell of a lot of comments here. I expected as much. So now that we got through the legal end of this, and again, I'm warming y'all up for the big part. That's in the next video where we actually attack specific issues. A lot of you are going to say, man, I need 5 or 10 bedrooms. The other half are going to say, look, I need about 5 care aides, one to scrub the toilet, one to cook, and one to help me off the bed. I get that, but it's not going to be in this video. I need y'all to have a good understanding first before we move on to what can I get. And so I think that falls in line with being Halloween today. This is trick or treat. We're going to the housing authority. We're going to get what we need, right? You say trick or treat, they give it out. Look, if you don't know your rights, guys, making that silly phone call to the housing authority, that isn't going to get you nothing fast because you're at the mercy of what they know. And no matter how much you beg them to learn more, they're not going to teach you. All right, so let's roll back on comments. I see Daisy Lou. Welcome, and thank you for becoming a member of the channel. So, Dee, happy Halloween. Thank you. Thank you for everybody joining us for Halloween Day. Most of y'all are peepers and creepers. You're not turning on your lights outside. You just got your mask on. You got one eyeball out the curtains and hoping all those children don't breathe on you. I get it. Some of you are putting out the candy bowl. Some are not doing anything because it's against your religious beliefs or other stuff. So you never know. All right, Dee, I am autistic and obnoxious art. I hope I said that right. Art is therapy. Would be reasonable to request a second bedroom. Well, I think if you were doing painting and other things for the second bedroom, I do not think that would be a reasonable way to request that. They would probably laugh at you. Not to be rude, you would need to frame that up differently. You don't need to tell them that you're going to be painting in the room. Okay, maybe your oxygen machine and your hospital bed will go in that room, and then while you're in on the oxygen machine, laying in the hospital bed, then you paint. But again, you guys got to think about this in a more logical way. You you can't tell them you're doing craps in the second bedroom. You know they're gonna laugh. You can't do that, Dee. Come on now. Robin Brown, you're great. I've learned so much from you. And by the way, guys, I forgot. A lot of you are just joining the channel. You've never seen this type of video before. This is live. It goes on for a bit. We talk about a lot of things. Today's accommodations, and you can chat with me in the chat window. So you're on a TV, phone, and so on. You'll see comments, and you just pick up your keyboard and start typing in questions. And we're going to do quick introductions before I go through some of these comments, and then we'll move on. So I'm the owner of Section8Consulting.com. I help hundreds, if not thousands, every year deal with almost every variety of issue in relation to Section 8 vouchers, Section 8 housing, affordable housing, low-income housing, discrimination, and just any number of things you can imagine. I'm ranked number one on Google. I'm ranked number one on YouTube. Got over 200 videos, and most people know who I am. If you just found me, it means that you just probably started searching for this particular topic, okay? So, one thing I'm going to put up real quick is for appointments and to book them. Look, you can always get free information. That's what 200 videos are about. If you're tired of going through the system and not figuring it out and it's taking too long for you, then you know what? Speak with a consultant, see what can happen for you. We offer those services, and you can make an educated decision whether or not I would be good for your particular case, okay? Because I offer advice, and I also offer casework for those of you that are just struggling to understand the system and how to get it done quickly, as quickly as possible. Okay, second, I'm going to give y'all real quick my website, and you can find it here, and I'm going to copy that in there. And again, all these links can be found in the description, so we're just going to run through this real quick. All right, so that will be the web address to section8consulting.com. It's pretty informative. It explains what I do with great detail. So I don't think there's any mistaking, but I'm not giving out tips and tricks. If you want tips and tricks, they've got a Sally and a Bob all over YouTube, and they'll tell you that there's 3 steps to fix all of your problems. And then next week, they will be absolute professionals at fidget spinners. And then a week after that, they'll be stockbrokers. And then a week after that, they'll be sitting in jail. Okay. So be careful when you're actually dealing with people on YouTube. Most people are just blowing hot air. They don't actually they don't actually know what the hell they're talking about. All right, next up, I'm going to give y'all reviews. I probably have some of the most comical reviews that anybody can get. A lot of people leave reviews that are good, they're bad. Sometimes they actually leave requests. Some people leave reviews thinking it's an email service. They leave a review requesting help rather than actually giving a review. That's part of the way you know that most of my reviews are real, because my clients leave all kinds of bizarre reviews, but most of them are good. So next thing I'm going to give up to you guys is going to be news and updates. Look, guys, a lot of y'all come out here to see videos. I get that, and you want to know more. But, I have a community page where I post information. This is the easiest way to keep up with the new things I'm talking about every day. For some reason, 99% of you, oh, wait, I forgot to do the review part. Now the reviews are listed. So if you want to just not watch a video and just get updates, then you'd want to save this link, and it'll give you community updates, okay? Mouthful, guys, mouthful. And we got a whopping 16 live viewers. I got to tell you, it's almost like trick or treat here. We barely have anybody watching the video, but that's all right. So we can get away from the links for right now and just answer some questions. Robin Brown, you're great. Okay, so I already read that one. Lady TH, can an accommodation be live in person to help with the need of disabled person? Absolutely. So the way you build and stack that case must be based on the policies, procedures of the housing authority. You'd want to send up several letters to prove your case as you go. That way, you're able to kind of trap them into what you need, and then they'll see what kind of alternative. It's kind of like an arbitration. As I mentioned before, just calling the housing authority is not sufficient because you never know if they're actually making any record of that. Candy Girl, welcome to the channel. So, yeah, we got a few people here today. It's not a big crowd. Maybe accommodations is not something everybody's interested in. So, only the truth matters. Hello, how are you? I'm doing fine. Pamela Foster, if you ported in HCV voucher and reasonable accommodation to the new housing authority, extended the voucher but obtained a reason. Okay, Pamela. So to explain reasonable accommodation, that determination must be made individually by each housing authority. If you received a reasonable compensation in, say, the state of Florida, and then you moved to New York, they could decline the whole thing. Okay. The best way to know whether or not, and so different cities have different ideas of what they're going to do, and so do the landlords. When you switch properties, so you're in Florida. Let's just pretend the housing authority in Florida has different rules. The landlord's going to have different ideas of what he wants to do. And then you move across the nation, the new landlord's going to have different ideas of it. So, no, these are not transferable. You cannot just force the next state and landlord into whatever the hell it is you got on paperwork. It doesn't work that way. The only thing is transferable is the voucher itself. Now, if you start setting up accommodations to at least get them to acknowledge that you're receiving some type of accommodation, that's fine. But all that must be reassessed and then redetermined. Okay. And so a lot of you guys have in your mind that, you can just move around all that. You've got all kinds of accommodations. Well, the next person, housing authority, may say, you know what? I think the last housing authority just gave you way too much. So we're going to cut it down for you and get it back to reasonable because we don't have funds. We can't blow 90,000 in funds on your one case. So they do have to make that determination. Okay. Beyond that, on the reasonable accommodation side, we were talking about getting an extra apartment. A lot of that's filed with Medicare, Medicaid for you guys that are seniors, Section 202, Section 811. And so once you get Medicare, Medicaid involved and you're willing to pay for the carry, which means a carry greater than 12 hours a day in your home, then usually you can get an automatic qualifier for the additional bedroom as well as payment for that particular person up to the limit of whatever they're willing to pay. Excuse me. Oh my God. It's the nastiest energy drink I ever drank. Okay, so beyond that, I don't believe that some of this can be applied. A lot of it can be applied to work situations, but I would not utilize this video in relation to issues regarding you having accommodations and modifications for your employment, stuff like that. All this stuff is very specialized, and though the policies, rules, and procedures of federal law don't change in regards to all of them, I just don't have a great deal of experience with you that are trying to achieve this with your employment. Okay. We just want to stick with the housing aspect of this. I think that if you have those kind of issues, you should probably just contact an attorney. I'm a great intermediary because I'm a less expensive result than probably forking out $5,000. That's the breakdown of the system. Everybody's got a low or fixed income. They cannot afford 5 or 10 grand to push into an attorney. So what you end up with is a bunch of people that are underrepresented or have nothing. I try to meet some of that, but there's a legal limit, and even how far I can go with it because I have to be cautious of giving out legal advice. So a lot of this is verbatim as it's written, and to give you guys a great idea of how to best represent yourself when it comes to accommodations and modifications to your home, your residence, your apartment, and so on. Any place you're laying your head down, these things could be applicable. Looks like we had a few more comments here. Like TH, can you help with this as well? I hope. Yeah, well, I can to a certain degree. I can help with things, but the thing is, I need to be well apprised of what's going on. So I know you'll bring up little tidbits here and there about what may be going on in your home and what you're seeking to do. But until I know your full case details, I certainly will not throw my neck on the train railroads across the, put my neck on the road or whatever you want to call it. I'm just until I know the full details. Maybe not. We have to see. And so it looks like Only Truth Matters chimed in. You spoke with me this morning about my mother living in deplorable housing conditions. That is correct. I did. However, your YouTube channel name is different as you're coming up in my chat. So I can't always identify The unusual names I'll give yourself in your YouTube names compared to your email or actual real names. So that's why I didn't catch it at first. It's good to see you in the channel. I'm glad you joined us. So, guys, it doesn't look like we have a big crowd tonight. I was kind of hoping we would. There's nothing else to do for Halloween. I might pull Kitty up here. This probably won't be a long video because I figured this reasonable accommodation and modification wasn't going to be a big thing. Even when I looked at the analytics to do this video, I realized very quickly that even YouTube seemed a bit uninterested in posting this video very highly. Even though I have the best keywords for it, it's just not a popular topic. So, damn it. Katie Houston, you skipped my question. Did I really? Let's roll back. I don't see Katie Houston. I got to tell you, there's only about 20 comments here, and none of them are yours. Yeah, I don't see it. Does anybody else see her comment? As far as I'm concerned, Katie Houston, this is the first time you've commented. You're the very last comment. Oh, now it just popped up. So there's a small delay. So Katie Houston goes on to say, is there a way to request my rent allowance be increased due to inflation? Yeah, that's something I've talked about extensively in a few videos in the past month. You put in a requisition to have your rent reasonableness adjusted or reevaluated. They make a determination. So that's just a phone call down to the housing authority. There's no magic in that. Same way the landlord can raise its rent, so can you. Most people don't realize that. Stephen Rapoli, I saw a website on ADA requests and home ownership. I'm no longer handling home ownership stuff. That's a nightmare. It requires too much time, and not a single person that I've tried to help is actually stuck with it. It's a 6 to 8 month process, and to be frank with you, most people that want a house they have a fantasy of it. They actually don't carry out what's needed or required. They don't have the credit score. A lot of people are unemployed. They just simply don't have the focus to take the responsibility seriously. I will no longer help with that unless I know for a fact that you're a very stable person and can meet certain criteria beginning with. Because this really is a big pipe dream for a lot of people. They just, I deal with clients every day and have for 20 years. That means there's tens of thousands of clients. And I can tell you that the vast majority of people that visit on the channel in regards to low income housing and so on in Section 8 fail to do this. The failure rate's 98.9 is bad. Okay. So I don't know if it's a matter of intellect, IQ, um, unstable lives, stable lives. I don't know, but I'm no longer doing it. If you like, I can send you whatever I've got on it that's not in my head, and there's lots in my head, and then see how you do with it. But my suggestion at this point is you guys hire a real estate broker to help you with it. But yeah, otherwise it would cost $3 to $5 for me and over months and months and months to be able to get you up to speed on what would be required. You're working with a housing authority, a real estate broker, a lender, a consultant. You see the point here? 5 individuals involved. And really, this is just kind of like a side project for most of you. It's not even taken seriously, so I don't do it. Moving on. Lady TH, is it? Well, I got something in my way. It is for me when health issues that truly need help. This help share. Okay, you kind of lost me there, Lady TH, because you use the word help a lot. Well, maybe you're referring to housing, getting a house or utilizing it. So, look, there are HUD consultants that handle this as well. You can call, and I'll try to get the number for you guys. They work in DC, and they handle the home purchase part of this. I've been suckered into that too many times. Like I said, people don't do what they need to do with this, so I no longer do it. I do that occasionally. When it just becomes too great of a burden, it's just not worth the time involved for people to quit after 2 months. Marco Alvin, my rent will raise 300 above the payment standard. Should I port or ask for Section 8? So that was an intelligent, idea there. Actually, it's a brilliant move. If you're to port in a lower rent area, then you could actually adjust your own rent on that just by virtue of doing so. Paying more, no. HAP contract, housing authority policies often say that you are not going to be able to pay one nickel or one copper penny out of your pocket extra than what they're willing to cover. So, no, that will not be allowed. They find it, you'd be in violation. Now, would you be, in essence, paying more because of the rental increase? Yes. But if you attempt to pay any more than what your rent responsibility is, then you're in violation of your HAP contract. They'll protest that for sure. Because they'd just look at you at this point and say, well, you need to move to a worse place. Or you play it smart and move to a state where it's actually better, but just cheaper. So you'll have to kind of stand back from it and try to figure out what would be the better option for you. The other option is to put in a modification for your rent reasonableness to go up because the landlord went up. Seems pretty reasonable at that point. Doesn't mean they're going to grant it, but I would give good cause. Lady TH says I'm referring to housing or for housing. Okay, I understand, but just so you understand, Lady TH, I'm no longer getting involved in that. Matter of fact, after this video, I'm going to delete every video I ever made about housing and purchase of home. Okay, y'all can see at this point I'm truly done with that. How many times have I tried to help people with that, and they did nothing with it? You know what I'm saying? Nothing. Tried to pull them out the ditch and just took it like it was just a monstrous waste of my time. So no, I'm not. I think it's tough now. Try to get in the house without somebody like me. You talk about the realm of complete impossible. So it's not to be rude to anybody, but I'm not going to waste my life working with people that don't want anything other than what they can get out of the system. So, all right, guys. So let's take a look back here at some of these comments and see where we are with everything. Daisy Lou says, how can you help us to qualify if we haven't applied for Section 8? We have like 10 of the other requirements you mentioned. We're living in Southern California. Well, that is by itself, Daisy Lou, is one big problem. You're living in a state where there's too many people there are more people applying than there are vouchers in the nation, okay? So let's equate that. That's not more vouchers than there are in California. There are more people applying in California than there are vouchers in the United States. So the possibilities of you remaining in California are about 2 or 3% at this point. At January, it was 50%. Most of my clients have been telling you only have about a 20% chance. And at this point, we're 60 days from Christmas? And a lot of people's evictions have now rolled through that big wave of 40 million people that have been fighting in court for the last since it happened, since the eviction memorandum went up. So now they're all entering the system by the millions. And to give a great example, California is full. Then they started going over to Nevada. They actually, I had a news reporter contact me about that state of Nevada. California people hammered that state so hard, there's nothing left. It's just now, there's probably one loose voucher blowing in the wind out there. That's it. It's crazy. I've warned everybody. This is nothing new, unless you're new to the channel. I had warned a lot of y'all about that since January. You're gambling with your future with this. So we're having to move people all over the nation. It's probably the greatest migration of people in U.S. history, because if you can't get it in your own county, used to people to argue with me about, I can't get it in this county. Well, that's fine. And then we just deal with other areas of the state. Now we can't vouchers you can't get in certain states anymore. And so people are moving to all parts of the U.S. at this point. Ill-advised is California. Florida's a nightmare. New York's a nightmare. Jersey's becoming that. Maryland's pretty damn bad. Nevada, forget about it. Arizona's pretty bad. And eventually Texas will get hammered. The only reason Texas has been left out to this point is because of where it is. Your Midwestern states were doing well, but now they're starting to become inundated. The places that never had a problem, like Oklahoma and Missouri and Oregon and now Idaho, man, they're at the tipping point too. Look, guys, I'm trying to tell you guys, if you don't get your business taken care of, there won't be nothing left in 2022. You cannot make 40 to 50 million people, throw them out of their homes, and then expect that these people aren't going to inundate the system. And look, I don't care how many trillions of dollars you throw at this from a presidential point. If there is, they can't build these houses quick enough. All the shit they're doing, all that money they poured into developers, well, those guys ain't going to be building anything but another couple of years. So what then? I've got people with vouchers that can't get housing. You got some lunatic housing authorities. They think that they're putting on the best show of their life by handing out hundreds of vouchers when they know the market's saturated and everybody's giving their voucher right back. There's all kinds of fantastic games being played around the nation right now. So I'm seeing a lot of it play out big time. Don't be shocked if you end up moving the whole family somewhere up there, probably in North Dakota. It's tough. I'm not trying to disappoint anybody, but I got to tell you, it's tough. Look, man, we're right around Christmas right now, and man, you look the days of you driving by the housing authority and explain you got a problem, they're just going to print you out a voucher. You're dreaming. You're dreaming. Half of my work takes weeks to get one case done. So, anyways, let's see what else we got in here. Joe Thompson, hey, please don't delete this information. We need it. Well, Joe Thompson, I was talking and about that housing and all that. I guess I'll leave it there. But it's offensive that I've made that many videos about helping people get homes and nobody does a damn thing about it. It boggles the mind that I'm actually trying to drag people out of the slum, out of the hood, out of the trailer park, and nobody takes the shit seriously. I mean, step by step, teach people how to purchase their home with a voucher, and it's just looked at as a fantastic fucking joke. And I don't know. I'm just in awe and stunned that people don't do nothing with it. They'd rather just sit in the projects and hear the gunshots go off. Shocked. It's aggravating, but I'm going to leave them up, I guess. Let's see, Marco Alvin. If 40% of the salary is not enough to pay for rent after a rent raise, would I be allowed to pay the difference out of your pocket? No, under no circumstances will they allow it. Everybody asking about that. Nope. You will have to pack up everything and then find a new place. Now, what you should consider, Marco Alvin, is ERAP, Emergency Rental Assistance Program. ERAP runs in every state, and they can help you at least till you find a new place, but they're not going to allow you to do that. That usually goes very badly, and it's just a violation of their HAP contract with most housing authorities. Now, I'm not suggesting that you don't reach a certain agreement with the landlord, okay? But I'm not here to tell anybody how to. I have to be careful what I say. I can use all the profanities I want, but I can't teach y'all to do bad things. But in the real world, we do what we have to do. So I really don't know how to answer that question in an ethical way, Marco. There's ways to do things, brother. You just got to figure them out. Moving on from that. So we're going to talk about memberships. This video is also about the kitty cats, the rescue cats, abandoned cats, and so on. Most of y'all know I have a lot of cats. And so we offer memberships in this channel. So if you are a competitive person and just want a really neat badge when you chat in the window, you want to look good, then you can purchase a membership. They're a few dollars, okay? Nothing that's going to break the bank. I use that money for the support and care of these cats, vet bills, so on. And trust me, when you got a bunch of cats, there's a lot involved. My treat bill a month, like $100. That's not including food. So trust me when I tell you, it's an expensive cause. But it's mine alone. I'm not suggesting any of you have to do a damn thing about it. So another thing I want to tell you about is email notifications for videos for those of you that actually like the content, or either you think I'm interesting and just want to watch me carry on in these videos. YouTube does a terrible job of giving notifications. Okay, it's a fabulous joke. It's been one like that for 7 years. They only notify 3% of the people. Most of you come back later in the comments, well, I missed the video for the 99th time. No longer will we do that. I now have set up email for this. So I encourage you. Look, there's a link for that. It goes straight to a white page that says subscribe. You enter your email and I will send out an alert. You will get it instantaneously 30 minutes before I do the video. So you'll be right on the video when I make them. If you decide later, you know what, I really can't stand this guy, I'm sick of all his emails, I put in huge, massive words in red letters, unsubscribe, and you're done. You don't even have to hit spam button. Just leave. That's it. Making it simple, guys. Because we wait on YouTube to notify all y'all about it. Only about 3 out of 11 or 12,000 people ever get a notification. It's horrifying. But then trust me, when it comes for time for YouTube to make money off of my videos, that is always instantaneous. But should I need something from YouTube, you can rest assured that it will be on the back burner. So I've solved that problem. That link I just put in there, you can also find email notifications where I literally have spent my own money to send y'all notifications to join these videos. All right. So let's see if we can get a kitty out. All right. So some of y'all come around to see the cat show. So what I'm going to do now, though I do look dressed professionally, you should be aware that I'm wearing a dress shirt and a pair of shorts. All right. That's how you do it when you're doing videos from home. And so I'm going to cover this up for the respect of my own dignity. And I'm going to grab my Siamese with blue eyes, because the other boys right now floating around the house, and I'm not quite sure where they are. We'll try shaking the treat bucket. But if you're a pet lover, love dogs and cats, that's a big part of this channel. If you don't like it, please subscribe and find another channel, okay? All right. Come on, squirrel. Come on, let's see the YouTubes. Oh, we gotta see the YouTubes. Come on, pal. It'll just be for a minute. Oh, there's my girl. She's been sleeping all day. We got her a... Oh, there's another kitty. If you look in the left bottom corner, there's little Papa. So they are popping around. She's a rescue cat, and she's a tough little bird. We got her one of the sheep blankets, and I got to tell you, she really, really enjoys that. She's very temperamental. Out of all my cats, she will even try to, the little paw she has, she will box my biggest cat, which is a really, really big cat. So yeah, when you buy memberships or you donate whatever to the channel, as you know in the chat window, you're allowed to donate a few dollars. This is what I spend my time doing extra, okay? Not just accommodations and Section 8 vouchers. So let's see if we can entice a little bit over here. I'm going to let her go because she's still sleepy. Let's see if I can... Let's see if we can... Papa. Uh-huh. Come on. Let's have treats. Let's see if we can get the Papas. Oh. And this was a rescue right here. This is little Papas. I found him when he was barely the size of a small tomato. A little bit bigger. About the palm of my hand. He... Well, I'm going to leave out the worst part of the story, but I'm just going to say that he was crying and so on, and wasn't even done being weaned from his mother, basically. Didn't know if he was going to make it for about 3 weeks. It was a lot of time spent trying to save this cat. He now is a very loyal cat. And so if I don't give him what I promised, we're going to have trouble in little Chinatown here. All right, baby. You ready for treats? Come on. This is what we spend our time on, his treats. So he's already wanting these. All right. So I'm wondering if Big Pops will come around. I think he's downstairs sleeping. Oh, there he is. Come on, Bear. Treats. Come on. Come on, Bear. Come on. Are you coming? I got treats. You better come on. All right, guys, give me a minute and I'll show him to you. I'm going to cover it up again because, like I said, my shorts do not match my shirt. So y'all just have to humor me with this real quick. And besides, he's kind of heavy cat. All right, so I'm going to go grab him and I'll be right back, okay? Come on, Bubba. You're the star of the show. They want to see you. Oh, jeez. Gained another pound, didn't you, brother? This is Big Bear. See that gigantic head? This cat's no joke. I've not ran it in our neighborhood. There are hundreds of cats in the neighborhood. Not a single one of the alpha males have been able to compete with this cat. When he gives you a TKO, you're out of the game. So he is the leader of the bunch because none of the other alphas is as big as him. But and he's a great bed warmer, by the way. So if you're looking for something to keep your bed warm, get one of these bad boys. All right, I'm gonna let him go. Come on, pups. Oh. Whew. Well, so y'all got to see a couple of cats, usually the same ones. The other one's a little bit wilder. If I put Snow Bear up here, I would be shredded like cheese, okay? Look, I know some of y'all would get a good giggle out of that, but I'm not interested. Look, let me show you some of my hand. That is cat claws. Okay, here's my other hand. People probably think I'm shoot up heroin or something, but it's not that. This is what happens with Big Bear. Some of the other cats, when they play very seriously. There's no nipping and loving, and they think they're playing, but they're quite serious. Some of the injuries I've suffered just at common play with some of my more wild cats, they'll cut you open surgically almost. I had one of them get the bottom of my foot, and let me tell you, it'll leave you reeling in pain because it'll split the bottom of your foot wide open. And he was just playing. All right, take a look at a few comments here. So we're doing the Halloween thing and talking about a little bit of everything. Now we're accommodating cats. Yes, this is true. Kitty litter as well as can get very costly. I learned early on with cats, train them to be indoor, outdoor when it's possible because I'd rather them drop their business out there than here. We do keep what I call the cat porta potty. That means if you need to do a quickie or drop a loose one, you may do so. But this is why I keep a procession of ways for the cats to go outside and do their business because I'm not buying thousands of dollars in kitty litter. Okay. Besides, some of them that are a little bit more wild and not that trained, when they drop a bomb, let me tell you, it changes the whole element of the house. The carpet starts to curl. It's nasty. Okay. And some of them don't. Some of them don't cover business. I'm not walking around with a scooper all day. Man, my mama says so pretty. Yeah, she is a pretty girl. She looked like a wheat thin cracker when I got her. Now she's been restored to her former glory. I believe it was an owner. You know how it goes. You move and then you just throw the cat out the window as you drive away. So she left to starve to death. When you teach a cat and you buy a cat, and then you all of a sudden move and you just leave it, it's always gotten its food and water from a bowl. And so not only have you built a relationship and thus destroyed it, you've sent the cat into complete destitute with that. And a lot of them will just simply die from not eating. Now, some of the wilder, tougher ones will make it. She's a gorgeous cat. It was never necessary to do that to her. But that's all right. She lived by the right person. So that's how I ended up with so many of these. Marco Allen, beautiful. Thank you so much, Marco Allen. TH Lady, she's cute. Jalen, I am scared of cats. Well, I'm scared of spiders, but I'll let a cobra jump all in my shirt. So I have no fear of snakes, but I hate spiders. And then you're scared of cats. So I think we're even. It's Halloween, Jalen. So you better be careful because there are going to be a lot of little witches and cats showing up at your door tonight for the Halloween fest. Daisy Lou does exit other programs for us as I'm on SSDI. My partner just got SS approved. We are both seniors, 60 and 56. No, you're not technically seniors yet. You're 55 plus, but you both will arrive at being a senior, I believe, at 62 legitimately. But there are benefits for both of you being that you're over 55. Okay. So it's kind of like you get a nice discount, but you're not quite there just yet. So the SSDI is a critical factor for disability in some consideration and stack that with your age with many other factors. I think you might do fairly well, Daisy Lou. I don't go yet. Says Daisy. I don't know what that means in the context. Gale Resources says TKO Papa. Tell me about it. And I got to tell you, man, let me tell you something. If you live down south, I don't know where you guys are from. If you like donuts, I bought 6 donuts from Krispy Kreme. Okay. If you're Southerner, you know what that is. Unless you're out in Florida, maybe. Well, damn it if I didn't take a nap. And sure enough, Big Pops rolled along. And then all I found was a streak of chocolate on the sheets and a missing donut. Sprinkles everywhere. Still don't know what that donut is. Big Pops plays that game, man. Let me tell you, he'll take a whole slice of pizza. His clothes are good enough to get through this. Okay. This is not horribly thick, but it's good enough. He can get through this within probably 10 minutes. So yeah, I'd like to know what that donut is. Sarah D, nice cats. Well, thank you. It's only a small fraction of them, but yes, they are nice cats. That is funny. 911 litter box. Yep, I just cleaned it today. And the big problem is when you have multiple cats, when they pee in that box, each cat has a different scented urine. And they smell, cats by nature smell things, and their urine says a lot about who they are. For some reason, it's like reading the newspaper. When we read the newspaper, when they piss on things like the wall, that smell of urine means a lot of different things. So those cats read that like the news, whether you're a friend or an enemy and other things. The big thing I've noticed is it's hard to get multiple cats to share one box because it can be a matter of territory smelling that urine. So I often find that only in the most desperate situations will all the cats use the box because there's so many scents in that box already, especially from the males. K. Cole, double heart, double cat, a smiley face, hello, and a waving woman. Thank you for all those symbols and a few stars. So, well, guys, I'm going to go back real quick to accommodation modification. So, in our next video, we're going to be talking about how to get the extra rooms with proper documentation, which means we're going to apprise the housing authority of the specific disability, find the specific accommodation that would be appropriate for the situation, make sure you match the intent of federal law. Then you apprise both the housing authority and the landlord simultaneously by signature, confirmation, tracking number, so on. You want to make sure that the accommodation request is a sentence or two, so you're straight to the point. You want to put under that the exact excerpt from ADA compliance law. So ADA law and other issues that you may be related to. So there are several different federal laws. You'd want to put it there. Now, if they already apprised of you prior to you putting in the request that you are disabled, they cannot ask for additional information. That game is over. It's already been shown, as I showed you in the original part of the video. Now, they can make an offer, and this is when you negotiate this. When they don't want to negotiate or they deny, then the case is, then we can move it second part. Now, in the description of the video, I want y'all to read judiciously the Justice Department's opinion on this, okay? And it's not really an opinion. And I also want you to read what HUD has to say about it. So there are two links. Both federal agencies have different ideas, but they're along the same lines. Then you have the 2008 Disability Act and so on that you can compare also in the description. Thing is, you need to back up your conversation with these people. And again, making phone calls and trying to negotiate just on pure free will that you think you know or you know is not sufficient. All right. Now they may make a counter offer that may not be the deal. So the thing about it is, then we go into arbitration with that. If they're not going to comply that way, then you trap them in. You can trap them in with a third letter, get them to, for some reason, to not answer or deny you. At that point, you've trapped them into violating certain parts of the federal law, and then you don't have to negotiate. Then it becomes a compliance issue. Again, I'm not an attorney, okay? Let's just put it this way. 20 years of work of doing this. I've got lots of attorneys that hire me to sub particular parts of what I do. Attorneys don't have time to sit in and read all the manuals I do. They don't give them those manuals when they go to law school. So there is a place and time for me. And I talk with trust attorneys, family attorneys, divorce attorneys, sometimes even courts, because children involved and it's a sticky housing situation. And there's advice that they need without having to read policies, procedures, and other things. And so I become useful. But again, when it comes to this, I always say put your best foot forward with it if you understand it, a basic way to build your case. Also, for anywhere from $50 to $150 could be the best investment. We can take them directly to small claims court, and the burden of proof is so low with that. You guys have got to get braver. If you really, sometimes you have to use force with this. And if you know how to back it with the right federal laws, you'll do well with it, okay? People think that it's like suing Big Sugar or big smoking tobacco company. Look, it's not that complex. You guys just build your cases wrong, okay? And you come to them more like you're in need. Look, you're not in servitude to the housing authority. They either are going to meet the intent of the federal law or not. If you're not going to meet it, then you have been denied. That is the word, the magic word. I have been denied. I have been discriminated for my housing, and I have been denied. How do you answer that? Okay. So They have to answer it and either offer an alternative modification or get sued. Look, small claim suits, Justice Department can sue. A lot of things can happen. It's in the interest of all parties involved that they just give you. They really just should just give you the modification to this rather than go through that, because I don't think the housing authority and the landlord really want to open up their self to all the other shit they've done that's against the law. That's often the case. They'd rather just settle the matter than to be under investigation, because the reality is landlords rarely do things on an ethical level, and they do lots of things wrong. In other words, they're easy to trap. And housing authorities are notorious for hiring idiots to work there. Notorious. Don't get me wrong, there are professionals that work at housing authorities because they are county employees, but a lot of their lower management and staff, man, I would compare these people to people that you'd likely have gotten their got their diploma out of a bubble gum machine. Look, if you don't think laws haven't been violated or they've told you the wrong thing because it never once dusted off their manual, happens a lot. You got a case, fight it. Okay, if you don't know how to fight it, then research is required. And I think in the next video we'll get a little bit deeper into it. So, Gale Resources says, we'll go back to comments real quick, and then we're going to wrap up the video because we're at an hour. That would be a great video. Compliance goes both ways. It certainly does. I think it's a negotiation part here, because some people will willfully try to get something they don't deserve, and I understand that as well. However, I think that most people have brought, I would say 95% of the people have brought an accommodation or modification to me to see whether or not it was worth pursuing. I would say 95% of the time it is, because they have legitimate requests. Only about 5% of the people I've ever met, and it's a lot, we're actually trying to game the system for something ridiculous. So, Cheryl Walford, what hours are required by the Section 8 and or okay, so that can be anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, and that would be dictated by the policies of that particular housing authority. So you'd want to do an open public request and then ask directly their in-house counsel, which would be their attorney, to state specifically how many hours. Then second to that, you'd want to make an open request, probably verbally by email, to Medicaid or Medicare that's providing the payment for that person to be in there. And I think it's Medicare. Medicare, I think it's Medicaid. They will tell you exactly how many hours are being paid. So if you qualify for living aids or a care aid, then they would say, okay, well, we'll financially cover 8 to 12 hours. So there's two different aspects you have to look at with that. That is a great conversation to have. Wait 45 minutes. You call Medicare, Medicaid, sit on the phone for an hour. Let's not joke. It's going to take an hour no matter what. So might as well just get it done now. I'm sure as the hell not going to do it. Okay. I don't. But so you'd want to check both with the insurance provider. Then look, one thing you don't want to do is go to the housing authority and ask them what your rights are. Okay. Because they're never going to tell you the truth, or they're going to tell you some bullshit that don't make any sense. It always happens. They always tell you something obnoxious. I've never trusted a damn thing housing authority tell you. Look, the other day a client came to me. Yeah, they told me it was going to be a 10-year wait. I said, based on what? Oh, they said that's what they tell everybody. Oh, okay. So that's the bullshit we're talking about today then. Well, of course, when the housing authority would prefer to get rid of 9 out of 10 applicants, just tell them to be 100 years. So what did 9 out of applicants do? They curse silently, throw the paperwork in the parking lot, and walk off, right? It achieved precisely what they wanted. Is it real? I think what they meant to say is it could be 10 years if you gave all the wrong answers and we just don't like you. Is it reality that it would be 10 years? No. I don't have any clients. Let me tell you something. If my clients were waiting 10 years to get a voucher, let me tell you something, nobody would ever call me. It would just be a fabulous joke, right? I don't have any clients waiting that long. The longest one I ever waited was 3 years. Look, if you're going to move somewhere absurd, hey, Jay, I'd like to hire you. I want to move into LA. Okay, well, good luck with that. I'm not going to be able to help you. If you want to move around somewhere around LA or in New York, but outside of Manhattan, Queens, and so on. So it depends on your case, kind of deal. So, yeah, just to be upfront and honest, not every situation is the same. It's always moving with this stuff. So, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you all, and I wish you all a happy Halloween. I think the kitty cats wish you all a happy Halloween as well. I don't know when the next video will be, but I will tell you this. I'm going to put this up again. I really, if you are a member of my channel, okay? And you're not getting notifications. I don't care if you get them sometimes, whatever. Just go ahead and subscribe to the email list. Okay, I'm already paying for this out of my own pocket. You might as well just do it. That way, when the next video comes up in a few days, you will get an email. You'll get an email notification from your inbox saying we're having a video. YouTube does not 97% of the time ever let y'all know when a video is. You may not find out about it for hours or days. So if you're smart, do it this way. Otherwise, I'm paying for this for nothing, okay? I'm not going to send y'all solicit money and other bullshit out of this. It is simply to let you know that the next video is coming because YouTube fails to do this so often. And there's the link. So sign up. Give me that good juicy email, and I promise it's just going to be to alert you about the videos. Other than that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I think we got trick or treaters and start ringing the doorbell soon, and so I don't want to be on here. I think I'm going to put apples and oranges and see if I can really piss those kids off. What do y'all think? Apples and oranges, or should I give them candy? No comment. Maybe I could put a basket of masks. That'd really get them roaring, wouldn't it? You know, it really sucks this year. These kids all have depended on getting candy and everything every year. And unfortunately, this is the most rapid evolution of shutting down Halloween I've ever seen. Even when I did a poll about it in the video a couple of days back, you know, over 80% of the people are just not even going to turn their porch light on or even go to the door anymore. I understand nobody wants to have somebody breathe in your home and infect everybody. If you live because of political motivations in certain states, there are lots of people that don't have a vaccination. So one good breath of that stuff can wipe out the whole household, depending on your genetics. Depends on what you believe in and all that stuff. So I'm not going to turn this into a political agenda. I'm just saying that I understand why people don't want to open their door. So it looks like Mark Alb says he's going to give out candy. Good. You know, my grandfather told me, now he passed when he was 95. That was about, I don't know, 10 years ago. Okay, I got lived a long time. French people live a long time. I am French and German. Okay, I'm not just some pasty white guy. Anyways, when he was a kid, they gave you an apple and an orange for Christmas. Okay, things were different back in the old days, and some of you old enough to know that. And if you grew up in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the candy was interesting in those days. Certainly don't have what we have today. So, all right, guys, I've enjoyed it. Y'all have a good night. We'll see you again in a couple of days. Bye bye.